Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. 16. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 16. After doing all this, Meng Qing turned around. His face was only calm, as if he had pinched an ant to death. Many onlookers in Mengyu were stunned. That's a cave heaven realm powerhouse. A few days ago, even if he searched the entire 3 cities, he couldn't find one, but now he was killed by Meng Qing in front of the Mengcheng city gate. That's crazy, isn't it? Yu Qingyan was a little dumbfounded. She originally wanted to break the marriage contract by becoming a trial disciple of the Yunxiao sect, but she thought that she was high. But when I arrived here, I found that this was not the case. First, Meng Qing's strength that could not be cultivated in the past was 1,000, then she was suspended, and then, a strong man who could walk sideways even in the Great Zan Kingdom was killed in public. Like a puppet, she lost the ability to think. The old man standing on the side looked at Meng Qing with approval, and stepped forward and said, "There are really not many young people with such bloody nature now. Your name is Meng Qing." Meng Qing nodded slightly, waiting for the old man's next words. Meng Xuantian obviously saw the extraordinary nature of the old man, and quickly stepped forward and said, "The junior Meng Xuantian has seen the senior, but I don't know why the senior suddenly visited my Meng domain. The dog is a little unruly, please forgive me." The old man waved his hand, fumbled for a while in the Chenkin bag he was carrying, and then took out a token. The old man traveled in all directions, passing through this place some time ago, just when a beam of light rushed into the sky. Today I learned that it was Ling Lang who did it, and I wanted to accept Ling Lang as a disciple and take him to my sect to practice. I don't know what you think. When Meng Xuantian heard this, he immediately took the token. Meng Qing glanced at it casually, and his face became strange. This golden token was impressively written with the 3 words of Yunxiao sect. At the same time, Yu Qingyan and the onlookers also stretched their necks to look towards this side. A knowledgeable lord of great power immediately exclaimed, "Oh my god, it's actually the Golden Elder of the Yunxiao sect. This is the real big man." Immediately someone next to him who didn't understand the situation asked, "Golden Elder, what does that mean?" Core elders. The Lord of the Great Power seemed to want to show himself in front of such figures, and immediately patiently explained. This is much more powerful than the core elders. It is said that the elders of the Yunxiao sect also have ranks. The lowest level is Hokqing, followed by ordinary elders and core elders, and the Golden Elder is above these 3, second only to the Guardian sect elder. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was shocked. Recalling what this old man said just now, they seemed to understand. It is said that the elder who accepted Yu Qingyan as a trial disciple is just a guest secretary, and the Golden Elder naturally has this qualification to say that he is a fart. Looking back, they all looked at Meng Qing, and there was only envy in their eyes. This is the chance that all geniuses dream of. Meng Xuantian's breathing became rapid, his chest rose and fell violently, and he eased up for a long time before saying, "The junior has no right to make decisions for Qinger in this matter, so let Qinger choose by himself." Although Meng Qing was surprised, he was not surprised. In his memory, Meng Xuantian had never forced him to do anything. The old man looked at Meng Qing with a smile, waiting for his answer. As for Yu Qingyan, standing there alone, completely ignored. Meng Qing weighed it in his heart. When Ling Weixi destroyed the city gate, he moved the killing intent. He had Brother Chicken and the Queen Ant. Even if this old man did not appear, he would do the same. And as the news spread, the 5 Mountains domain must be furious. He personally is not afraid of the 5 Mountains domain, but Meng domain cannot. According to his original thoughts, he wanted to intercept those strong people halfway when the 5 Mountains domain made a move, and even if it was not good, he would give the 5 Mountains domain a warning. But if he became a disciple of this old man, it seemed that his situation would be better. No matter where he was, the identity of the Golden Character Elder of the Yunxiao sect was very shocking. 10,000 steps back, in case Yunxiao sect is uncomfortable, he can completely run. After weighing it again, he said, "Yes, but I won't go to the Yunxiao sect now." Why? This time, on the contrary, the old man became curious, and as an ordinary disciple, he wished that he would fly to the Yunxiao sect now. Meng Qing replied without humility, "The world is so big, I want to see it." Meng Xuantian, his face was ugly for a while. What the hell was the reason? If it weren't for someone now, he really wanted to slap Meng Qing, really when this martial arts world was full of feng shui treasures. The main reason is that Meng Qing has to seize the time to become stronger. Now the Ant Queen and the Chicken Brother are fourth order, which can certainly dominate in the 3 city domains, but when it comes to the Yunxiao sect, it is estimated that it is not enough to see. It is better to find some materials to see if it is true that the 2 spirit beasts can continue to break through. Of course, since coming to this world, he has indeed been curious about this world. The old man smiled and took out 2 items from his sleeve robe, namely a token with a gold-rimmed black background and a bracelet-style item. Come in a hurry, there is nothing to get your hands on, this rite should be a little careful. As for this token, when you arrive in the Yunxiao sect, as long as it is displayed, you can naturally see me. Meng Qing took the thanks. Thank you, master. Meng Xuantian muttered in his heart. This kid really doesn't see rabbits and doesn't spread eagles, and he has to give something before he is willing to change his words. In fact, Meng Qingfang was only adapting to the identity of this old man. The back of that token was written with Yunxiao sect, and the word Shiyu was written on the front, thinking that this was the name of the old man. Meng Xuantian said in a timely manner. Senior, this journey is long, although Meng Yu is humble, might as well rest for a while. Shiyu waved his hand. I'm used to being dashing, I'm a little unaccustomed to living in a house, but I still don't bother. As soon as he turned around, his steps lifted slightly, and he disappeared on the horizon after only a few breaths, and the speed was jaw-dropping. Everyone in Meng Yu soon entered the city. Yu Qingyan stood alone, a gust of wind blew, but she couldn't help but snort, glanced at Meng Cheng, smiled self-deprecatingly, and turned away. The 3 cities domain was renamed Meng Domain. Yu Qingyan was suspended, Meng Qing killed Ling Weizi and was accepted as an apprentice by the Golden Elder of the Yunxiao sect. These news were spreading throughout the surrounding domains at an incredible speed. When those people heard this news, their first reaction was disbelief. Ling Weizi said that he was a guest secretary of the 5 Mountains domain, but his own strength was unique, and the beast tamer was even more Zuyuqing, and he could even kill opponents across borders. But now he died at the hands of an unknown junior. Soon, a succession of intelligence agencies confirmed the news, and some people even recorded the images at that time with photo stones, spreading wildly in several surrounding domains. When everyone saw Meng Qing's 2 terrifyingly powerful spirit beasts, they were all frozen. Many strong people of the older generation sighed one after another. Ling Weizi died unjustly. If it were me, most of them would not be spared. Many people speculated about Meng Qing, a waste that grew up in just 10 days to kill a strong person in the cave heaven realm. The novel did not dare to write like this. At the same time, the 5 Mountains domain. A large hall. Boom. The delicate cup fell to the ground, and the fragments fell to the ground, as if to show the anger of the abuser. Yu Tian, the domain master of the 5 Mountains domain, had a heavy face as if he could drip water. Can anyone tell me what the hell is going on? Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis 17. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 17. There was dead silence in the huge palace. Going to Meng Domain to break the marriage contract was actually tacitly approved by Yu Tian and the high-level officials of the 5U domain. They originally thought that bringing a cave heaven realm powerhouse would not only be able to handle things beautifully, but even bring a shock to Meng Cheng and let them not be angry. But the moment the news came back, they were almost stupid. Now it is widely rumored in the outside world that Yu Qingyan was suspended, and the Ling Weizi he brought with him was even killed in public. The chips they thought they had all become Meng Qing's stepping stones. What they never dreamed of was that Meng Qing was actually accepted as a disciple by the Golden Character Elder of the Yunxiao sect, and at this moment, they had no room to fight back. All of the high-level people present in the 5 Mountains city could be alone, but at the moment, there was nothing to do about this matter. At the end of the seat, Yu Qingyan's eyes were red, and his fists pinched the corners of his clothes, because the strength was too great, so his hands were white. In my opinion, we have only one last way left. A strong man who was not very old but cultivated in the cave heaven realm slowly spoke. You say? Yu Tian asked patiently. Xie Ling must also tie the bell person. Since this matter is caused by Qingyan and Meng Qing, then you might as well let Qingyan go and Meng Qing to lose money, although it is a loss of face, but it can save Qingyan's reputation. We only need to claim to the outside world that everything is instigated by Ling Weizi. the elder said softly. Yu Tian hesitated a little and looked at Yu Qingyan. An elder said uneasily, "This is not good, although Ling Weixi likes to be cheap, he has also made great contributions to my domain, and he is dead now." Before he could finish speaking, the elder interrupted him. What the third elder said is extremely that Ling Weixi has made great contributions to our domain, and he is naturally sincere with my domain, and he doesn't mind exerting his residual heat for my domain, or does the third elder want to do it for him? The strong man known as the third elder suddenly closed his mouth. Just kidding, once pushed out, it's a yellow crotch. And since they can push Ling Weixi out, who can guarantee that they will do something to him for what the Five Mountains domain will do at that time? Yu Tian breathed a sigh of relief. Then this matter is so decided, Qingyan, you will go to Mengcheng again. Meng Yu. For several days in a row, Meng Qing had been practicing the Imperial Spirit armor breaking skill. After a few days of polishing, he raised his hand and punched, and even set off a sonic boom, which was extremely terrifying. A huge amount of spiritual qi gathered on his body, as if a long aura dragon was coiled around his waist. For a long time, Meng Qing dissipated the aura that lingered in the fist. This technique is really magical, although I am now at the peak of the primordial period, even if I don't rely on the beast control, with the spiritual energy foundation and this technique, even in the cave heaven realm, I can fight. There was a cold feeling on his wrist, which was exactly the bracelet that Shi Yu gave him. This is a fourth-order Horcrux that can trigger its prohibitions when facing powerful enemies to defend him against attacks. Meng Qing nodded slightly. This was useful. There was a sound of footsteps, and the guards came quickly, knelt down on one knee and said, "Young Domain Lord, Yu Qingyan of the Five Mountains Domain asks for a meeting." Meng Qing frowned. What is she doing here? She claimed to have come to ask for peace, and at the same time, now the Wuyu domain has released the news, saying that what she did that day was all instigated by Ling Weixi, and now she came with a gift to compensate. The guard said quickly. Meng Qing's smile was a little cold. This is expected by me, but there is no need to meet, you just go and take in the things she brought. The guards took orders and walked away quickly. At the city gate, the guard said to Yu Qingyan, "I'm sorry, Miss Yu, the young domain lord said that you have nothing to do with me Meng domain now, there is no need to meet, the gift you brought can be transferred to the domain lord, Meng domain is currently under construction and there is no accommodation for the time being." Yu Qingyan's face was expressionless, as if he had foreseen this scene for a long time. The accompanying elder who came here with her was immediately unhappy. Meng Yu is a little too big, the two of us have traveled thousands of miles here, but in the end they haven't even seen you, what is this? The guard was neither humble nor arrogant. Meng Yu has always been like this, if your excellency insists on doing so, I can also inform the senior, but there is no guarantee that it will happen. Are you threatening us? This elder usually has a good relationship with Yu Qingyan, because the latter was suspended and put the 5U domain to shame, he really didn't have a good impression of Meng domain, and he was looking for a hair-bearing power. Goo goo. A strange cry came, and at the same time, a mighty coercion dispersed, like a mountain suddenly falling, exerting on the two of them. The elder's face suddenly changed. Just as he wanted to see the source of the coercion, the latter disappeared and was replaced by a large, brightly feathered rooster coming out of the city gate and about to forage for food. The elder was so frightened that he took 2 steps back and asked, "What kind of spirit beast is this?" The guard looked like he didn't know what you were talking about. What are seniors talking about? This is a pet owned by the owner of the young domain. Yu Qingyan remembered the scene when Ling Weixi was killed by the 2 spirit beasts, and his face turned pale again. The two left in a hurry. Inside the city, Meng Qing hooked his finger, and the chicken brother who was just about to walk out of the city gate tilted his head, pecked away the chenkin bag in the guard's hand, and flew back to Meng Qing with his wings. Taking out the chenkin bag brought by the two, although he was mentally prepared, Meng Qing was still frightened. There are no less than 1,000,000 spirit jade, 100 first-order spirit weapons, 10 second-order spirit weapons, 3 third-order spirit weapons, 500 first-order spirit medicines, 100 second-order spirit medicines, 10 third-order spirit medicines, 1 fourth-order spirit medicine, plus a few other sundries. It is worthy of the Five Mountains domain, and the shot is really generous. Meng Qing thought for a while, took out one of the fist sleeves in the third-order spirit weapon, and immediately gave all the rest to Meng Xuantian. Mang Domain has just been established. The City Lord's Mansion has expanded into the Domain Lord's Mansion, and the resources must be tight after the manpower is filled, and these things can play a greater role in Mang Xuantian's hands. Then, Meng Qing stretched his waist and looked in the direction outside the city. The trouble in the Five Mountains domain was solved, and these three cities no longer had a place worth staying in. It's time to get out there. When Meng Xuantian knew his decision to leave, without saying a word, he handed him the Chenkin bag that was not yet hot. It's not like at home. Everything needs spirit stones. You can take these, there is always a useful place. Meng Qing smiled and patted the Chenkin bag on his waist. I have a bit of a coil here. After wandering around outside, I will go to the Yunxiao sect, and when I get there, there is a master to help me, and my father doesn't have to worry. To put it mildly, Meng Xuantian finally put away the Chenkin bag. Early the next morning, Meng Qing, dressed in a light robe, took Brother Chicken and the Queen Ant, ran out of the city gate and headed south, and soon disappeared on the horizon. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. 18. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 18. It is a very large complex. From a distance, it looked like a giant beast crawling on the ground, opening its mouth to the outside world. Zoom in closer, and you will find that there is a gate that is 50 feet high, and there are huge pillars built on both sides of the gate, on which various rare and strange beasts are depicted. The two pillars are connected by a plaque that reads, Great Xuanwang City. This is the royal city of the Great Zan Kingdom. Inside the city gate, Meng Qing carried the Queen Ant in his pocket, and the chicken brother in his arm, dangling very leisurely. His original plan was to visit the great rivers and mountains of the Great Zan Kingdom first, and he was even ready to go around fighting righteously, but after visiting several domains around the three cities' domain in succession, Meng Qing gave up. Those places seem to be carved out of a mold, which is really not very interesting. Of course, more importantly, there is no gain in those places. After wandering for half a month, he went directly to the royal city. Looking at the surrounding competition, one by one, a tall building, Meng Qing was amazed. All kinds of signboards emitted light under the increase of spiritual energy, although it was still daytime, but it was a bit of the smell of the port city in the previous life. When passing by a shop that seemed to sell beasts, Brother Chicken clucked excitedly, which caused everyone around to look at him for a while. Most of the people who can wander around the royal city during the day are people with status, and when someone sees a boy with a simple robe and a big rooster walking around, his eyes show strangeness. Meng Qing didn't care about this. As long as he is not embarrassed, it is they who are embarrassed. Half an hour later, Meng Qing walked into a medium-sized restaurant. When they found a position by the window and sat down, Brother Chicken and the Queen Ant suddenly became restless and couldn't stop calling. Meng Qing understood the meaning of the two spirit beasts. Are you hungry again? Looking for something to eat? No, this is the royal city, there are many hidden bigwigs, in case you cause trouble, then won't I be able to eat and go? Brother Chicken kept patting his chest with his wings, as if to reassure Meng Qing. In the end, he couldn't get rid of the two spirit beasts, so he had to say, you only have half an hour, remember, you are not allowed to break into inhabited places, nor are you allowed to eat those beasts that have masters. In the past half a month, he has not seen the horror of the two spirit beasts, and these things still need to be told. The two spirit beasts agreed with their mouths, and then the queen climbed onto the back of the chicken brother, and the two spirit beasts flew out through the window, blending into the bustling street in the blink of an eye. Meng Qing ordered a few side dishes, asked for a cup of tea, and listened to the gossip around him without a match. I heard, Meng Cheng was a ruthless character half a month ago. Is it that Meng Qing who retired the young domain master of the Five Mountains domain? Who doesn't know this? It's really enviable. Yes, because of this, he was even accepted as a disciple by a golden elder of the Yunxiao sect, and with this kind of identity, he will definitely be among the dragons and phoenixes in the future. When the king heard the news, he immediately sent an envoy to Meng Domain to deliver gifts, and it is estimated that he will return soon. What kind of person is this Meng Qing? It is said that it is because the cultivation is too strong, and then dislikes the young domain master of the Five Mountains domain. Meng Qing almost spewed out a sip of tea. What is this all about? If you don't know what the situation is, don't eat melon blindly, okay? At this moment, a pair of peers, an old and a young, caught his attention. The first girl looked about the same age as him, and her simple clothes could not hide her excellent figure, and the fair skin that occasionally revealed was really inseparable. Her eyebrows have a heroic air, very sassy, but soft, and the pride that she inadvertently exudes when looking at everyone is like a finishing touch, which makes people slow down. Meng Qing's heart suddenly trembled. If I had to use one word to describe it, it would be beauty is incomprehensible. At least this second killed all the beautiful women he had seen along the way. Most importantly, the girl's cultivation was in the middle of the Taichu dynasty, and she was the only person of the same age and similar cultivation that he had met so far. As for the old man, Meng Qing couldn't see the depth. The girl didn't notice Meng Qing's gaze, sat down on his left table, and said dissatisfied. After 3 months of training, I am finally home. The old man sat down immediately and said with a smile. There will always be rewards for hard work, and in a day when the envoys arrive in our country, sure, you will definitely win the crown. When the girl heard this, she immediately frowned and said, I have heard you say it countless times in the past 3 months, when will I talk about it? The old man smiled bitterly, took out a transparent crystal from the Chenkin bag, and handed it to the girl. You might as well take this to test, the talent crystal will not lie. Shu'er took the crystal and pointed it directly at herself. The crystal seemed to be lit, and a faint purple light was released. Seeing this old man and young man showed a gratifying smile on their faces. At this stage, there is only one person taller than you, and there is one person who is equal to you, and as for the rest, it will not be your opponent. Not only your brothers and sisters, but the entire Great Zan Kingdom. The old man said very firmly. The girl pouted. Grandpa is bragging again. The girl complained as she swept the bottom of the crystal around. Whenever the crystal is directly above a person, the crystal will appear bright, some yellow, some green, and very few blue. The corners of the girl's mouth suddenly rose, and she aimed the crystal at Meng Qing. This time, Grandpa, you finally didn't. Before the girl finished speaking, she closed her mouth, and the corners of her slightly raised mouth froze. When the old man saw that it was wrong, he also looked at it, and when he saw the crystal, he was also stunned. I saw a little golden light emerge in it, initially only the size of a fingernail, and soon bloomed. At this moment, the girl seemed to be holding a sun in her hand, and the brilliance of the bloom was extremely brilliant and very dazzling. The old man's eyes were full of horror. Golden, how is this possible? Although Meng Qing, who had been paying attention to the two, did not know what this meant, he also knew that it was best to leave here now and get up now. The golden light gradually dissipated and turned into an ordinary crystal. The movement here attracts everyone's attention, and everyone is watching here at the moment. There was a sound of wings flapping outside the window, and the chicken brother returned and fell on Meng Qing's shoulders, and the ant queen also slipped into Meng Qing's sleeve robe. The old man noticed the extraordinary nature of Brother Chicken and immediately exclaimed. Meng Qing lifted his legs and left. Young man, please stay. Is there something going on, senior? Meng Qing was neither humble nor arrogant to ask. Dare to ask where the young man came from. Where are you going? Fang Kai Shu'er made some movement, disturbed the young man, and asked the young man's forgiveness. The old man said unapologetically. Meng Qing waved his hand slightly. The senior is serious, if there is nothing else, the junior will leave first. This is it, surround me, a fly also wants to escape, must catch those 2 spirit beasts trespassing on the forbidden land. Suddenly, a loud roar came, and the sound of neat and heavy footsteps came. Meng Qing's heart suddenly clicked, and then he looked at Brother Chicken. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis 19. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 19. Brother Chicken looked straight ahead, as if he didn't know what the situation was now. Before Meng Qing could ask carefully, there was a sudden noise below, and a group of guards wearing heavy armor approached, locking Meng Qing almost immediately. The person at the head had the cultivation of the cave heaven realm, and he looked at Brother Chicken, and jealousy appeared in his eyes. This is your beast. Meng Qing nodded. Do you know that your beast ran into the king's breeding garden and ate tens of thousands of fairy spirit insects? The guard continued, his voice already freezing by the end. Meng Qing was stunned, and then his face couldn't help but darken. Good guy, these 2 masters who don't have a worry. Let them go out to find food, and they can break into the royal garden. Someone around exclaimed. Fairy spirit worm. Although it was a third-order spirit beast, it was said that the number was extremely rare, and it was said that the king had traded it from the Tiantian kingdom at a great cost, and each one was extremely precious. What? Isn't this kid dead? It is said that this spirit beast can spit silk after it grows completely, which is the main material of fairy spirit armor. Someone next to him said with all his tongue. The corners of Meng Qing's mouth kept twitching. It seemed that he was in big trouble. The palace guard made a gesture to the few people behind him. Take it down for me. Meng Qing retreated towards the rear, his gaze quickly scanning the surroundings, but the more he looked, the worse his mood became. There's nothing to take advantage of. The entire restaurant was surrounded, and below, several auras that were not lower than the cave heaven realm locked here. There is no escape. The breath of the chicken brother and the queen ant gradually emanated, and apparently, they also knew that they had broken into trouble. Just when those guards were less than a foot away from Meng Qing, the old man who had just spoken to Meng Qing suddenly spoke. Wang Lin, this little guy's beast really ate the fairy spirit worm. The leader of the guard turned around in dissatisfaction, but when he saw the old man's face, he was immediately shocked and quickly knelt down. Subordinate. Before he finished speaking, the old man waved his hand casually, and a breath lifted him up, and said at the same time. I see that this young man is good, can you let him go in my face? As for the loss caused to the palace, the old man will compensate for it all. The guard's leader's shirt was already soaked with sweat, and he quickly said yes, but when he looked up, he saw the girl called Shuer waving at him with a smile, which immediately made his legs and stomach tremble, and he almost fell to his knees. He will not recognize the wrong person, but this old man is the father of the king today, and now he wants people, how can he not let go? Unless he's alive. And although the accompanying guards looked confused, they also understood that the person who could make his own boss like this was definitely not a simple person. Several of the older guards only felt strange, this old and young, looking familiar, but they just couldn't remember who it was. At the behest of the old man, these guards quickly left. As for those spectators who planned to watch the excitement, they were also taken away with them. Meng Qing stepped forward and said respectfully, "Thank you seniors for rescuing." He didn't know the identity of this person, but at the moment when the old man made a move just now, he could clearly feel that Brother Chicken and the Queen Ant showed jealousy. This is a strong man whose strength is far above them. It's important to have a good relationship, and no matter what, etiquette is always in place. The old man said with a smile. It's okay, I see that your robe and clothing are far from the royal city, I think you are a foreigner, why don't you go to my house for a few days? Meng Qing was not good at refusing, nodded in agreement. Half an hour later, Meng Qing looked at the golden buildings that appeared in his field of vision, and his hands were trembling. This is the royal palace. This saved his old man and young man from running amok here unhindered, directly into the depths of the palace. They seemed to be very familiar with this place, and chose a path, and the eunuchs and the like that they occasionally met couldn't wait to lower their heads to level the ground. A strange sense of satisfaction appeared in Meng Qing's heart, and he looked around, thinking that this was the benefit of strength. Soon, the three stopped and arrived at a courtyard that covered dozens of acres. The place is full of spiritual energy, and the air is filled with the pleasant smell of elixir. When he saw clearly what was planted in it, he couldn't help but froze. All three elixirs are the same elixir, and each plant has a purple fruit hanging from it, which makes this place look incomparable under the sunlight. Meng Qing swallowed his saliva. This is the most natural synthetic material. It's just that although he is moved, he does not dare to act. The family is a little simple, don't care about it, how about staying here for a few days? The old man took the initiative to send out an invitation. The royal palace, said to be humble. Is this a high-class Versailles? Meng Qing was a little confused, what is this operation? After thinking about it, he still decided to be straightforward. The senior saved his life in the next life, so if the senior needs the junior must help with all his might, and the junior still has some things to do, I'm afraid you can't delay here for too long. The old man nodded and asked, what is Xiaoyu's called? Meng Qing. Meng Qing confessed. The surname is Zan, let's call me Elder Zan. Meng Xiaoyu, do you know what big things will happen in the royal city in the next few days? Elder Zan asked patiently, as if he did not intend to directly pick out the purpose. Meng Qing shook his head, he had just come to the royal city, how did he know so much? In a few days, the Yunxiao sect will send an envoy to my great Zan kingdom, when all the young talents in the country will participate in an assessment, and the winner can become a named disciple of the Yunxiao sect. The old man wants to ask you to help Shu'er get the first place in the assessment at that time. Elder Zan finally stated his purpose. As soon as these words came out, Shu'er was suddenly unhappy, staring at Meng Qing angrily, her fists clenched tightly. This big thing. Meng Qing suddenly remembered that the two had indeed said this when they first went to the restaurant, but he had now been accepted as a disciple by Shi Yu, and he didn't care at all. At that time, he heard Elder Zan say to the girl, now in the imperial city, the girl's second brother is the #1 competitor. Thinking of this, he asked. Then may I ask, what is the strength of our opponent at that time? Only the second prince. In the late Taichu period, the beast is a Xuanjia rhinoceros. Elder Zan said softly. Second prince. Meng Qing looked at the two, only then realized the problem. If this girl's second brother is the second prince, then isn't she a princess? Then isn't this old man in front of him too emperor? Shu'er was dissatisfied. Grandpa, I don't need his help, I can do it alone. Besides, he may have a better talent, but he may not be as good as me when he really fights. Elder Zan looked at Meng Qing, and there was a deep meaning in his eyes. Meng Qing was helpless, so he had to say, it seems that the princess has a deep prejudice against the underworld. Shu'er said proudly, I do have a prejudice against you. I'm a person who only recognizes strength, so let's compete with us. Quote. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. 20. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 20. Meng Qing's face was a little strange, compared to a fight. No matter how you look at it, the winning face of this girl in front of you is not very big, okay? And that Zan Lao also said with deep meaning. Young people should consult with each other, so that they can see some small details and mistakes in the battle. Hearing this, Meng Qing had to surrender his hand and said seriously, Meng Qing. Please advise. Xuanshu, please advise. The two did not go elsewhere. This courtyard is really too big, judging by the construction style in it. Even if there is no Zan Lao, the two do not have to worry about destroying anything. Zan Shu took the lead in making a move, because she had never noticed Meng Qing's exact strength, so she used her full strength as soon as she came up. A large amount of spiritual energy gathered in her palm, and even caused the air circulation around her to be greatly affected. A palm slap, it seems to contain the power of 1,000 shots, and the trembling air buzzes. Meng Qing opened his heavenly eyes. His eyes closed one by one, and when he opened them again, the girl's movements seemed to have been slowed down several times, and the spiritual energy gathered in the palm of his hand also showed flaws. Elder Zan noticed this scene and was obviously startled. Meng Qing pointed out. Zan Shu was about to feel angry that Meng Qing only gave a finger, but then he realized that something was wrong. The latter's move was like a sharp sword, starting from the weak point of her palm martial arts, disintegrating it all. She retreated. Meng Qing chased after him, still pointing out. Zan Shu's eyes were shocked, and he instinctively retreated, but Meng Qing's speed was too fast, and he was close in the blink of an eye. Just as she was about to raise her hand to use the aura to push it away, the latter's finger touched her eyebrow. The aura dissipated and everything returned to normal. In less than 10 breaths, the battle came to an end. When Zan Shu was still stunned, Meng Qing withdrew his hand and stepped back, apologetically. It's rude. Zan Shu was obviously unconvinced, and said angrily. You don't talk about martial virtue, sneak attack. Meng Qing was speechless for a while. Did he sneak attack? It's just good to attack at a normal pace. Elder Zan sighed a little helplessly. Sure, you lost. If Fang is a life and death duel, you are already dead. Zan Shu puffed up and said very unconvinced. I am not convinced. We have the ability to compete again. Meng Qing spread his hands. I don't think it's necessary. Nonsense. Our side didn't even show the beast. Zan Shu was angry. Her temperament was extremely arrogant, and during the period of training with her grandfather, although she shouted hard all day, she insisted on the cultivation content. This made Zan Shu more determined. Even in the face of powerful warriors, he could easily win. But Meng Qing defeated her in 2 moves. How could he accept this? On the side, Elder Zan announced the result. Sure, you lose. If the two of you display the beasts together, you may not even be able to carry a move. His 2-beast cultivation is in the 4th order. What? Zan Shu's surprised little mouth opened into a circle. Elder Zan paused and said, "How did I teach you before? Don't take your opponent lightly. Grandpa is really annoying." Zan Shu pouted dissatisfied, stomped her foot with some shame, and quickly ran away. Elder Zan said helplessly, "This Nizi is like this." Meng Qing ignored it and said, "Dare to ask Senior, when will the trial you mentioned begin? When is it held and what do I need to pay attention to?" Quote, 3 days later, when the entire royal family school-age warriors will participate, the only thing you need to be afraid of is the second elder, but with your strength, it is not a problem. If you get a rank after that, you can also occupy a place to go to the Yunxiao sect, no matter what, you are from my great Zan kingdom. Elder Zan said slowly, when he said the last sentence, if there was a deep meaning. Meng Qing knew that Elder Zan had guessed his identity, but he didn't care, and pushed the boat along the water. If you can go with the children of the kingdom, it is naturally best, and you can take care of each other. Elder Zan saved him once in the restaurant, and it was natural to help a little. Then Elder Zan said something to him that should be paid attention to, and immediately, an old man and a young man walked along this huge courtyard. At this time, it is noon, the sun is shining, and all kinds of elixirs planted here are growing strongly. The medicinal fragrance is fragrant, and there are medicinal bees shuttling through it from time to time, which is very beautiful. Meng Qing's heart was fiery, and he asked without a trace, "Senior, I have never seen this elixir before, dare to ask what kind of elixir it is?" Elder Zan smiled lightly. "This is the national medicine of my great Zan kingdom, called xuanshui grass. The requirements for growth are extremely strict. They are all third-order elixirs. I planted some here. I want to see if I can cultivate fourth-order elixirs with some things." Meng Qing thought thoughtfully. Third-order elixir becomes fourth-order. It's an interesting idea, but has it worked now? Elder Zan shook his head. How can it be so easy? This huge medicine garden, it is good to be able to produce 1 or 2 fourth-order plants. If it can be done like this, the existence of this medicine garden is valuable. Meng Qing didn't care so much. All he was thinking about now was this xuanshui grass, and he asked in a pinched tone at the moment. "The junior has a lot of experience in elixir cultivation. Can the senior let me give it a try?" "Oh, I didn't expect you to have such a hobby. It doesn't hurt to try. What do you want?" Elder Zan is interested. Meng Qing's face was not red and his heart did not beat. "It's just a guess of the junior. Whether it works or not is another matter." Elder Zan didn't ask more, took out a medicine hoe from the Chenkin bag, carefully went down to the ground, and started along the edge, clearing out 10 xuanshui grasses with ordinary growth. Then, he went to the inside and center of the medicine garden again, took 10 plants respectively, and handed them to Meng Qing. "Go and try it. If it's not enough, you can take it yourself." Meng Qing nodded solemnly. He was placed next to the medicine garden, and according to Elder Zan, there were not many people here on weekdays, and when he left, he instructed him to practice here next. That night, Meng Qingduan sat in the room and clicked on the system. Ding! 30 plants of the synthetical genshui weed were detected, and were they synthesized? Yes. System tip. The quantity and quality of the synthesized cannot support its synthesis to the next grade. It is recommended that the host collect more equivalent synthetics and then try. If the host insists, it can also be synthesized, should it continue. Nope. Meng Qing got up and walked straight into the medicine garden, completely without Elder Zan's usual caution, grabbed it like cutting leeks, and directly uprooted it. Scan again. System tip. The number of synthetics is insufficient. 50. 60. 100. Meng Qing was a little apprehensive in his heart. Although this medicine garden was big, the elixirs were not as dense as he thought, and 100 elixirs were already nearly 1/5 less. This time, it's done. Congratulations to the host for successfully synthesizing 100 xuanshui grasses and obtaining the 4th order elixir Xuanling Star Grass 1. Closing square bracket. While taking out the elixir, he deliberately returned to the room. The moment the Xuanling Star Grass was taken out, Brother Chicken and the Queen Ant were a little excited, and they couldn't help but stretch their heads forward, wanting to swallow this elixir. He divided the elixir into 2 portions and fed it to Brother Chicken and Queen Ant. Rumble. Almost immediately, the realm of the 2 spirit beasts changed. The Queen Ant was originally equivalent to the early stage of the 4th order, and now she swallowed it, and actually entered the middle of the 4th order. And Brother Chicken also went from the late fourth order to the peak of the fourth order. After instructing the two spirit beasts to cultivate, Meng Qing went out and looked at the xuanshui grass dangling in the moonlight. The corners of his mouth rose slightly. Please like and subscribe.